Alright, so I kind of want to get to the point on this video because a lot of you obviously clicked on it for this reason. When is the next furry convention? I know that's going through a lot of our heads now. It's at that point in the year, or at least the end of the year, where we just want to forget about everything that happened, especially in 2020. Now, obviously, by the time this is uploaded, it's the end of 2020. Everyone is so ready to just leave this year behind them. Holy shit, this is probably the worst year I have lived through. Although I might have achieved a lot, and, you know, the best of BetaEtaDelota and whatnot is going to come out later. Besides the point, all of our plans pretty much got put on hold because of COVID. I really hate to be making a video about COVID, so I'm going to, at the very least, summarize most of what I want to talk about with that and focus strictly on the question of the video. When is the next furry convention? But regardless, it's around the end of 2020. The first year in a decade that we were all hoping was going to be amazing, but ended up being the worst start to a decade pretty much all of us could have expected. Like, hands down for me, this is the worst year of my life so far. I'm only 22, but you know, I've got a bit more to experience. Maybe this will get worse, who knows. 2020's been a year. Obviously, there have been some good things, but mainly bad things. A lot of our plans got canceled. A lot of what we were looking forward to, especially as furries, had pretty much gone down the drain. It started with the cancellation of Vernal Equinox and was just a slow process of seeing all these conventions we were really looking forward to going to just dropping one by one until eventually there's just like, oh, well, 2021, maybe that'll be better. But as we can see how just the state of the world is and how COVID is, I don't think it's going to be as early as people might think. Now, granted, I am not bashing anyone's optimism on this. I, for one, am really happy that people are remaining hopeful that the next furry convention is going to happen, or just remaining optimistic that we are going to get to see each other again and have this wonderful, big, amazing convention. Why do I still have notifications on? Like I said, for a full-time content creator, I'm not doing the best job, but I'm all for it. In fact, I'm really excited for whenever the next furry convention will be, so I can go and party, so I can first it around. I haven't worn this fucker since TFF. This asshole. Oh my god, what did I just do? But this asshole, who basically lives here rent-free, doesn't pay his rent. Oh yes, I've worn him for like videos and streams. Actually, that's false. But I've worn him. I just haven't really been him. Because furry conventions are where I guess the magic happens. I don't know. Either way, you keep living rent-free and enjoying your limited existence. That went dark quick. But ultimately, things aren't really looking too ship-shape in terms of 2021. Although we might remain hopeful and just absolutely ready to leave 2020 behind us. It's not like a switch is going to be flipped and COVID's gone, everything opens back up, and people are starting to at least think that. They're starting to go out and do things more because just with the election as well, with that having pretty much finished up, people are a lot more stress-free and feel like, oh, we can go back to normal. Something I want to emphasize is there's really not going to be a going back to normal. I hate to say it. With COVID basically coming into existence as a virus, you may not know, but viruses cannot really be cured. They can't be destroyed. They can be treated, but you can't just throw a bunch of antibiotics at someone and just call them all good. It's not how viruses work. Like, look at the flu. The flu has existed for the longest time, and COVID is basically like super flu. I might be underplaying it by a lot. I'm sorry, but just for the sake of simplifying it, COVID is going to be around, regardless of whether a vaccine is happening, regardless of whether or not everyone decides to wear masks again. That's just the way things are. We can eliminate it further. We can turn it into a flu-like virus by turning the pandemic into an endemic through vaccinations and treatments and basically seeing COVID as the new flu. But the point of this whole thing is that COVID isn't going away. It's a virus. It can't be cured. It can be treated. It can be somewhat eliminated based on what other countries have been able to do. Not the US, but it's going to be something that will continue to be in our lives for a very, very long time. Because even if we have the vaccine rolling out, we're still going to deal with anti-vaxxers. That's the new threat. But I've seen plenty of things of the vaccine rolling out in December, or not until February, or not being fully available until fall of next year. We won't really know when the vaccine is happening until it happens, until it starts actually rolling out, at least from what I've known with vaccines in the past. And as the vaccines start to roll out, of course, we will move slowly from a pandemic into an endemic. which was a fun little term that my friend Choco Mingo actually explained to me. Basically, think of an endemic as the flu. The flu exists, you have flu season, you have spikes in the flu around this time of year, the winter season, and obviously it makes sense that COVID is spiking around this time, so basically the coronavirus will turn into the flu. I think I've said that at least 3 times now. There's no structure to this video, don't worry, but we already know that at least the future of furry conventions is very up in the air at the moment, especially the beginning of 2021, has even conventions that were just canceled this last year are being canceled for the year after. Vernal Equinox just canceled, like not even a week ago, for the year 2021. Anthro New England a couple of months ago canceled. But we're at the point where we just don't know where conventions will be. So to simply answer the big question of this video, which we've been very much beating around the bush about, when is the next furry convention? To be quite frank, we don't know. I don't know, you don't know, none of us will ever know. But I can at least relay some pieces of information that'll hopefully allow us to at least predict or be a bit more optimistic but also realistic about when it'll be. My personal take on it is this. Furry conventions are considered social events, if not very big social events, worldwide social events. MFF is the most universal furry convention. It is also during the time known as the flu season, which we've stated before will eventually be more of COVID season, with how the vaccine will be rolled out and the endemic. I think I'm saying it the right way. What you need to keep in mind with all of these conventions and what the next big furry convention will be, let alone next convention or furry meetup or whatever, no convention, or at least the staff members, the board of directors at a furry convention, wants to be that convention. They don't want to be the one that starts up first. Maybe they just don't want to be the one that starts first at all. And they don't want to preemptively have a convention when they shouldn't. Obviously, right now, social gatherings of that magnitude are not allowed. So obviously, until those restrictions are lifted, it's probably not going to happen. Even like look at now with the flu season starting back up and just COVID spiking. A lot of states have started adding in more regulations because of that spike. Like even my state, Massachusetts, we have a curfew now where between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. you have to be in your house or at home. You cannot be out. You cannot be gallivanting. You just can't be out. And businesses have to close by I think like 9:30 or something. It's a bit crazy, but it's reasonable in response to everything happening. But with what I said before, no convention wants to be the center for, COVID spiking again, or at least having attendees that contract COVID and get very sick or even worse, die from it. And you need to remember as well, the big thing I think that a lot of people are forgetting, even though they're two separate things, you know how con crud is very much a thing? Yeah, think of con crud as like the number one reason why furry conventions aren't going to be happening for a while. Because everyone is scared shitless right now, and it's only going to be amplified because con crud is very much a thing that exists at cons. We can be as clean as we can, but at the end of the day, it's not just up to us, the individual, it's up to everyone else at the con. And that's another point I forgot to mention as well, with furry conventions and with COVID existing now. The con chairs and the staff members and the hotel staff can only do so much. At the end of the day, for conventions, it's all up to the attendees to maintain the health standards, to not show up if they're sick, to maintain social distancing if if it still happens, to wear a mask, to do all these other things within just keeping everyone else safe. I don't know about you guys. I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. I don't trust you guys. I trust me to not show up at a convention if I'm sick, to not go if I'm borderline about to die. I had to cancel a convention once because I was feeling that ill. I don't trust you guys. And the fact that con crud is very much a thing at conventions kind of proves that point. People will show up at conventions sick as a dog and still go around the con floor and get everyone else sick. The intention might not be to get others sick, but it's more so selfish than anything. It speaks numbers. Now, even just thinking about as well a theoretical next convention to literally answer when is the next furry convention. A lot of people are predicting, and at least I'm predicting as well, that for a more optimistic estimate, the end of 2021, around the fall and winter season. But you have to keep in mind as well, that is flu season. And that is also the time MFF happens. The biggest furry convention ever where a lot of people show up. You also have to keep in mind that the next furry convention to happen will probably be record-breaking, especially if it's a generally big convention. Like even if it isn't MFF, I will put money on the fact that the next furry convention to happen will have a lottery system. And there will be a chance that you might be able to go. Like it could could just be for, you know, hotel rooms or whatnot, but it could also be just for overall attendees at the con. Like, they might not want so many people showing up to it. I know MFF doesn't really care. They'll have 20,000 people next year if they really wanted to. But like, a lot of cons don't really want to have that huge attendee base and having to worry about that. Not just with COVID, but with the huge fluctuation of furries and attendees just immediately. Think about it this way. If TFF was the next convention to happen, whether it's 2021 or 2022, this last year they had around 5,000 attendees. Next year, practically, if it is the next furry convention, my guess is around at least 10,000 people would be going to that convention. And I don't think the TFF convention or convention center really has that much space for 10,000 people. I'm just throwing it out there. So there are a lot of factors that go into the next furry convention being what it is. You know, obviously, I trust the board of directors and the con chair members and just the staff of these conventions on whether or not they should be having it. I know they're on contract with hotels and whatnot, but the bottom line is they have to make a very, very responsible decision. Obviously, you can't blame them for canceling like this. Even next year's cons, even if by the time, you know, say Vernal Equinox happens and miraculously COVID just doesn't exist anymore, they still don't want to take that chance. No one wants to take that chance. That's why they're canceling early, of course. But back to the whole, you know, estimate, because I briefly mentioned that. In an optimistic sense, or an optimistic estimate, I would personally say the next convention will be happening in fall of 2021, at the very least. That's the optimistic estimate. The realistic estimate, which is the one I would personally go with, is somewhere around early to mid 2022, around the spring to summer season, once that second winter of COVID is gone. That would personally, if I were a con chair member and seeing everything happen now, if a convention were to happen around that time, that would be the ideal time to have it. At least by the time the vaccines are rolled out for about a year at that point, people are able to readjust. There's a new sense of normality in the world, and it's not just, you know, people pretending that things are going to go back to normal before COVID. It's not going to be normal before COVID ever again. It's just going to be a new normal that we're used to. But my personal prediction is around then. And I even just asked on Twitter, like, when do you guys think the next furry convention is? Some people are saying, you know, summer of 2021. I highly doubt it. As much as I'd love that to happen, I highly doubt it. But I would personally think, you know, 2022, early to mid 2022 is probably going to be when the next set of furry conventions happens, or when they just start up again. If they start up again. Obviously, depending on the situation, I'll determine whether or not I want to go to it. You know, obviously I have my own standards and my own situation here at home where I can't catch COVID, even if, you know, I wanted to take the chance to go to these conventions or fur meets or whatever. I can't put my family at risk. And I think a lot of you are in that same situation. I get that you guys might want things to go back to normal, but I think it's also important for us to remain realistic in this sense. There are plenty of other things that are happening, you know, in the online world. You know, obviously you guys are watching my videos now, so you should be able to participate or interact with these online events that might be coming up. You know, obviously I mentioned Furry VR. That's a pretty big thing. I also have my con videos that I've been releasing every month, which sort of a weird tangent. I've had all this footage since, you know, the 2019 conventions that I attended. I just haven't used any of that footage, but Blue, my really amazing editor who's done a fantastic job with these videos, has been editing down the videos for me every month. It's really funny because I'll title the video, you know, Furry Convention 2019, and there will be people in the comments who are like, wow, they had a convention during COVID? Fucking furries, man. And it's like, I get the first video might have been, you know, a bit of a concern because it's like, wait a minute, Beta went to a convention just like a week ago and this happened and he's doing a video like this. I get the concern after like the first or even second upload. But I'm at the point where I'm like at the end of the 2019 footage. I'm at like upload 5 of the furry conventions that I've uploaded this year, and I'm still getting comments on it. I don't know how else to help you, so just good luck, man. Good luck. But you know, besides my little rant, I do upload those videos to sort of remind you guys that, hey, you know, furry conventions are a thing, and you know, these are the good times you can have, and just sort of keeping people entertained, keeping people preoccupied while everything's going on. But I know some of you guys might worry about the future of the furry fandom because of the lack of conventions. Obviously, it's a very different story because the online world exists today with VR and being able to talk with friends over Discord, the videos that I'm able to upload about furry conventions, you know, just keeping a community together through live streams and, you know, online online furry conventions now. I think Furryality or Furrality, I can't remember what it was because I don't, go to these VR chat furry conventions. I'd want to, but it would be just as swarming as going to a normal convention, and I can't deal with that. Now, we all know that furries are filled with like social anxiety and naturally being introverts and whatnot, but the fandom kind of hinges also just on these furry conventions. We're very social people, despite us having all these aspects of us that might want to stay closed in and away from others and away from socializing. So ultimately, we kind of thrive off of interaction. So obviously, the future of these conventions might worry you guys about the future of the fandom. All I can say is just don't worry. I think the fact that we're in this day and age where everyone can stay connected online, as uncomfortable as it might be, we're very lucky to be in the position we're in. Could be a lot worse. All I ask you guys with regards to, after this video happening, it may seem hard to remain optimistic with, I guess, the results of, hey, the next furry convention might not be in 2021, and we just started 2021 by the time this video might be releasing. Or at least by the turn of, the year. People will be thinking, oh god, a furry convention or a furry meetup won't be happening this year. It may be hard to remain optimistic or just hopeful about the future of furry conventions or the future of the furry fandom because of it. All I can really ask you guys is don't lose that hope. I see a lot of you, at least on Twitter, remaining hopeful that the next furry convention will be sooner than later. As much as it might be nice to be realistic, please don't lose that hope. Before you know it, and I know it's cliche to say it, before you know it, we will be back at the next furry convention. We'll be celebrating us getting through it with our friends and partying late, and after that first convention, we'll be so exhausted, I'll probably pass out on the airport floor again like I did before and get bronchitis for 2 months. Oh my god, that was a time. Look forward to these events happening online. It may not be the best situation you might have asked for. It honestly could have been a lot worse, but just be thankful that stuff like this is happening. Who knows, maybe you guys might see me at Furryality or Furrality, I don't know. You might see me on some furry VR chat server. You might be able to meet your next set of friends through these online conventions or online events, or just interacting with others online or on Twitter. Probably don't interact with furries on Twitter. It's kind of a shit show right now, if I'm being honest. It's kind of really bad. Yeah, don't go to Twitter. If you want to go to Twitter, you should totally follow me. Shameless self-plug. So even if we don't know, when the next furry convention will be, just as we didn't know COVID was happening or was going to hit us as hard as it did, and look at the US now. Oh my god, please get me out of here. Just because we might not know doesn't mean it's, over. Everything might seem bleak, but things will work out. They might not work out the way you hoped they would or thought they would, but they'll work out eventually. That was sort of sentimental, I'll say that. I did a good job at that.